Listen up.
Welcome to the PowerShell Podcast, the podcast for PowerShell and the PowerShell community. And now, here's your host, Andrew Pla.
Welcome to another episode of the PowerShell Podcast, and this week I'm in Europe, baby.
Hey, you made it.
Malmö, Sweden. I've been here for a couple days, actually, but
Jet lag's okay?
Jet lag's okay is a good way to put it, yeah.
Yes.
I'm doing fine, though. The people, usually I get energized talking to people who love PowerShell, and there's no shortage of people here who love PowerShell.
That should be all right, yes.
Yes. Yeah, and, I know some European people. I've had quite a few on the podcast, but I have never been to Europe with the PowerShell people. So for me,
you putting faces,
so many faces, and also I'm meeting a lot of listeners who have been listening for a while, and I've never met them in person, and kind of connecting those dots, and honestly finding a lot of good podcast guests for the future. It's a lot easier to get invited to a podcast if you already know the person. They've already kind of showed some interest.
Yes.
So it's been an amazing day one. We kicked things off with quite the keynote.
Don't say it.
Is the keynote going to be on YouTube? Do you know?
Yes, I think everything.
Good. I won't spoil the outfits, but let's just say I was looking at Rob's shirt for a little too long, and I felt like I was kind of on drugs.
Yes. I thought we would be arrested for that, but
yes.
That's fine.
Oh, that was glorious. He has quite the collection, and maybe there were some other interesting surprises as well, but you'll have to check that out on YouTube, which is the good thing about the conference.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
But so if people obviously who aren't here, or if you are here, hey, congratulations. But are the recordings going to be available afterwards?
Yes, it just takes us a few weeks. It's similar to the US,
Yes.
We all want to, promote the content. It's about the content. Obviously, you get more when you're over there.
Yeah.
But if you're not, that's fine. And then even if you've been there, you haven't seen all the sessions, it's going to be available as soon as it happens.
I was thinking earlier today, I guess I should let you introduce yourself here in a minute, but I was thinking earlier today that, if you're at a PowerShell conference and a session is very relevant, you take a lot away from it, there's your brain is kind of like, oh, wow, this is really good, I can take this back to work. I almost think it might be advisable to dive in right after the session.
Yeah.
Rather than going to another one that is still relevant, but
yes,
avoiding that and just getting those key takeaways that you can actually implement and actually do. So there's a lot of opportunities for growth in that regard. I think I talked to Thorsten about this, and he'll be posting that interview on their platform, which you should definitely check out. We're going to do a before and after of before the conference, what are my expectations? Then afterwards, what are my takeaways? But I think it's cool because you get a very wide breadth of things, but also deep dives. So if you're already using a technology that's relevant to you, you can dive deep into that. And also you can explore things that maybe aren't relevant to you right at this current day, your current org, or wherever you guys are in your PowerShell journey. But you kind of get the best of both worlds, I guess.
Yeah, most of the sessions are 45 minutes, which means we always say 30 minutes content.
Yes.
That means it has to be condensed. And then you got 15 minutes Q&As. And that means if you leave and you say, well, I have more questions, as you said, follow up. That's your opportunity. You will find the information. And the speakers just love it.
Yes.
You've been following, you got to, ask the questions. And for them, it's good feedback at the same time. Any good question is oh, we haven't covered this in the docs.
Yes.
Or YouTubes or videos and stuff like that.
Yes. And so we're at PSConfEU, but who are you in relation to this? Could you introduce yourself to the audience? I mean, you've been a guest on the podcast before, but...
I've been there, although it's really hard to, make the time for that. I'm Gael Colas. I organize PSConfEU now. I used to be just an attendee like everyone else. And then I got hooked into PowerShell with the PowerShell Summit Europe, which the first one was in Amsterdam and the second one in Stockholm, Sweden. So it's been 10 years. And that's why we're back. We're back in the same country.
Wow. Yeah, quite the journey. And it's been cool because I know a lot of people who their PowerShell experience is basically driven by PSConfEU, right? That's where they got their maybe start. They found the community and then they took that opportunity. Maybe now they're speakers or they have good open source modules or whatever the case may be. But this is a very pivotal conference for PowerShell at large.
Yeah, I think it's a great place. When you're on this side of the pond, it just makes sense to be there,
Yes.
And we moving around just because there's a few reasons to that, and maybe one day we'll get to that. But it's just easier to reach out to more people, and at the same time for us, it's slightly easier because there's no expectation. It's different, and it's different every year. A lot of work, many challenges.
A lot of work.
But at the same time, it's like it's a new experience for everyone. So everyone is there, open-minded, and just waiting for this to happen.
Yeah. And I think that, we're going to talk about a lot of things. There might be other interviews that come after this. But my thing, if you're listening to this right now, you absolutely, if you're able to attend a conference, PSConfEU, you have to come. If you're interested in PowerShell, maybe you're early in your journey, maybe you're farther along, you have to make the effort. You have to ask your employers if they're sending you to conferences anyway. This is a must attend if you're in the PowerShell world. If you're listening to this, you got to be here. The energy is electric. The people are very friendly. And it's kind of been interesting to me because there's a slight, I guess, cultural difference in terms of, for most people here, English is not their first language.
Yes,
it's a second language. Now, you can't really tell. Everyone's quite fluent. But it is interesting to me to be one of the people who kind of made the long trip. Whereas at PowerShell Summit, there are some people from Europe who come over every year. And I imagine, yes.
I was there.
Yes. Many years. I think that's where we initially met.
Yes.
But it's been really an interesting cultural experience because what I've found is Europe is a lot older. Like I was in Copenhagen and gosh, the architecture is just amazing. There's culture everywhere you go and getting to know the different people from the different places because people come from all across Europe.
Yes.
And even beyond. I think Jordan Borean's here from Australia. I think there's someone from New Zealand as well.
Exactly, yes.
A lot of people from all over the world.
Sean from New Zealand. Yeah.
Oh, Sean, yes, that's right. Sean Laurie. I'm definitely going to talk to him.
Yes, that's the thing, right?
Yes.
And we're so lucky that people travel from far away. And we're lucky that it's slightly easier sometimes for them to come over here, more flights, more challenges. If you go to the US, maybe like the route is not as, you have more layover and things like that. So we're really lucky we can, grab them and get them.
And it's a beautiful venue. It changes every year. I'm very curious when you'll announce next year's.
At the end.
Okay, good.
At the end, last session, we usually do that. At the moment, the focus is 100% to, the next 3 days now because the day one is over. But at the end, we announce the next session, which is not always the case, but at least we're ready for once.
Nice. Yes, that's good. Because I'm going to start trying to pull some strings, maybe book some flights pretty early if I can, save some costs there. Because it really has, we're only on day one. It's about to be evening. I think some of us have already gone to dinner. I'm going to go to dinner.
I think we're the last ones.
Yes, we might be the last ones.
Yes.
But gosh, the energy is just amazing here. It's really kind of taken me back. It's been a few months since Summit. So I've kind of, after a conference, you're usually charged up for a little bit, like, yeah.
Yes.
And then it kind of, if you don't see other PowerShellers for a while, it kind of dies down. But it's built up again.
Yes, we're there.
For sure.
We're, full blown now. Yes.
Yeah. And a lot of different use cases of people using PowerShell. I found here, compared to the States, there's a lot more consultants. Yes. I don't know if that's like a thing in Europe. They're just consultancies are used more often, but I've met a lot of consultants here.
So I can give you my take on that one, which is, I believe, so that's the kind of things like I really try to think through because we have a different market. And the main reason is we are many different countries. So you don't get the same people allowed to travel out of their country.
Yeah.
So for us, it's we need to be very careful about this, where we organize it. We need to find a venue, which is the first challenge, but then we need to make sure the venue is somewhere that it makes sense because we know people will attend. And, there's some countries, and France is one of them, there's not that many people speaking English or, allowed to travel for this kind of conference, out of company's budget. So it's less likely to happen, let's say in France.
Yeah.
Although I'm French initially, so it would be very easy for me, my employee as well. So it would be easier for us to do it over there, just unlikely to happen because the community support is not there.
So French is your first language. And do you live in London now or where do you live now?
No, I live in Switzerland now.
Switzerland, okay.
Yes, in the French-speaking part of Switzerland.
Right.
But I used to live in London, in Malaysia.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Wow, so you've been around.
China as well.
Oh, wow.
For a few years.
Very cultured.
Yes.
I like that. Yeah, there's a lot of people here who I've met who've kind of moved around and were born in one country and now work in another. So it's definitely a lot of experience.
Where did you land?
I landed in Copenhagen.
So you landed in Denmark.
Yes.
Then what happened next?
I took a train. Well, I hung out for the day with Matthias and Grazi, and then I came over.
That's a good shot. And then,
it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, and then you just took the train, and then you crossed, like a...
Yeah, public transportation is quite different here, quite better.
Yes, so that's why it's easier. And then you land in Denmark. Did you have any border control?
Yeah, there was a little line, but
you had something. So I had nothing when I landed from when I landed in Copenhagen. Then I just took the train and arrived there.
Oh yeah. No,
Yes.
on that part I didn't. But whenever I landed at the airport, I did.
Yes,
for the
because you came
States.
from from the States.
Nothing major though.
But that's one of the difference. But there's no border like this. But then when you are a business and you're sending your employees in a different country, usually it's a different approval system, and that's why we can't really. We need to think about this.
Yes.
Wherever we have the conference,
Which I think is helpful. It makes it more accessible to different people. Maybe you can't go every year, but it's the type of conference where if you go once, it does change the trajectory of your career and how you use PowerShell and the network that you have of kind of people to ask questions about, because there's a lot of different experts in different things, a lot of IAM people, a lot of virtualization and containerization people, and on-prem AD as well.
And the funny thing is that changed from one year to another. Because sometimes we manage, I don't know exactly why, but sometimes, cybersecurity is a bit more of a focus. It's not that we always want to welcome, but sometimes, I don't know, maybe they're more active and they're more responsive as well. So we would have more speakers selected because there's more that submits.
Yeah.
And that also means there's more people buying tickets from that field. And sometimes it's more data, sometimes it's more sysadmin time, and it evolves, but yes.
Yeah, that's right. I guess there's probably been some years where maybe SQL and databases was kind of the focus. And I thought the keynote was very good, to be honest. Because with the keynote at a conference, you need to lay out some ground rules, what you can expect, be nice to each other, all that kind of thing. But also you kind of educated us on some pretty interesting AI stuff with some live demos and plenty of comedy throughout. But I actually had some takeaways from that.
There's a lot of things that we want to cover usually we do a welcome note and then a keynote. And then there's so much content, the things where the toilets are, the things, what's going to happen.
Here's
here's lunch, how do you make the most of the conference? So much to cover, but then if you just do end-to-end, which we used to do even last year, it's like it's boring.
Yeah.
You just get it. It's so boring. So we thought, okay, let's try something new and different. And then we're just going to mix it with some content. So that it's not as boring. It doesn't feel as long. And then you take away something out of it.
Yes. And I think that also, watch the video because it's hilarious.
Or don't. It's fine. I won't complain if you don't.
When he came on the stage, I was dying laughing. But I think that, that sillier approach kind of helps break the tension and opens it up for everyone else to feel a little bit more comfortable because we're not wearing wild outfits, we're all dressed normally, but kind of sets the stage for engaging with other people and being social.
Yes, and that's the goal. And I think that the thing that we're trying to achieve is, okay, we're talking about serious stuff, but we're not serious about ourselves. Like everyone's at the same level. Like we know some stuff, you know some stuff. Everyone at the same level. We just want to make sure like you're having a good time, because if you're having a good time, you're more likely to learn more.
Yes.
And you will teach us more things that that we don't.
I think it was also good that you had multiple different people.
Yes.
Like it felt like the community was already there. Like, hey, here we are. We're all talking, we're joking, we're having fun, we're sharing knowledge. And so kudos to you for that. But, this is my first PowerShell Conference Europe. Do you have any questions for me?
We haven't scared you yet. Are we okay?
I think it's been an amazing first day. A lot of good content. I really enjoy the 30-minute followed by 15-minute Q&A.
Yes.
I went to Miriam's session earlier today, and some of the questions that people asked were very insightful.
Yes.
She covered cookies and stealing cookies and things like that. And you could tell that some of the audience was pretty well versed in this area. And they were able to provide more insights than you could, I guess, expect to cover in a 30-minute talk. Right? You can't cover every edge case, but they were able to bring it up in the 15 minutes afterwards and kind of provided some different perspectives on that, which was really cool. So I've enjoyed that. Adam Driscoll's talk about quickly setting up a PowerShell repository, that's something that I'm, as someone who's telling people to use PowerShell, you have to internalize the gallery or internalize the modules that you're using. You cannot just trust any public repository. That's not a good practice. A lot of people do it. But I think he had a really good approach to that made it quite simple. And I actually got to have dinner with him the other night. There's just a lot of opportunities to connect with people on more of a human level, but also kind of a technical level where you can pick his brain and learn things, which was really cool.
I did today, by the way. I just say, okay, you're there. I'm going to sit down next to you, and then we're going to talk, business, and then that's perfectly fine. Like, he's really happy to talk about, PowerShell Universal, and he's a good guy, so very approachable, which is a good thing with the community we have. Your sponsor, your attendees, your speaker, your organizer, it doesn't matter. You just know that.
Yeah, you're just part of the community. That's the thing. It's like you're a sponsor, but probably after being a part of the community, especially with someone like Adam who's been around for so long. But they kind of get it. It's not like an outsider. It's an insider who just so happens to be a sponsor,
Yes.
Which I think your company is also a sponsor, right? I mean,
Yes. Well, we organize it. So we put ourselves. So there's many reasons to that. Again, one of the reasons is we are spending a lot of time to organize it.
Oh, yeah.
This is not the core of the business. It's like we do that on the side.
Yeah.
But we know that it's much easier to be a business to be able to organize this. One of the reasons is, in the US, there are charity, and we tried that in the UK for some of the stuff at some point. The problem is charity across border doesn't work in Europe.
That makes sense. Different country.
It's much different in terms of, accounting and stuff like that. So it just doesn't work. So I thought when I took over from Tobias after COVID, I thought, okay, I think it's easier if it's one business and then we just manage it through the business, but it's not the core of the business.
Right. And that's a consultancy firm. It's Synergy Systems?
Yeah, Synergy Limited. Yes. So it's just Synergy. And then we trademark Synergy. We've got different branches. We're based in the UK. I opened it 10 years ago, almost like in August, 10 years ago.
What's the website?
Synergy.com.
Oh, .com. Nice.
Easy peasy. We sponsored as well the PowerShell Summit this year. Yes.
Awesome. And what came first? Did you start your consultancy firm before organizing, or was it kind of like in tandem?
Oh yeah, no. We've been organizing PSConfEU for 4 years. 4 years this year, I think. And Synergy has been there for 10 years.
Wow.
So yeah,
quite a while.
Yes.
I think the interesting thing about consultancy is you get a pretty informed perspective, because you get to kind of see IT through the eyes of many different businesses with maybe different levels of maturity.
Yes, a good range.
Yes, for sure.
But even within a very mature organization, you will have teams at different levels.
Yes,
and they will be aware or not about this. But as soon as you show them the path, and they say, "Oh, we're here because of this, this, and that," and then if you show them the path, then it's easier for them to get there.
Yeah, and that's showing them the path is a different skill set than being able to just write the code. So
yes, but you start by writing the code, because even if you show the path, at some point someone needs to do the work. So
yes,
don't talk about it too much. Sometimes just get it done.
And then the success story kind of vouches for itself.
Yes, and then you start thinking about, okay, I am driving for the impact. And then this is where you start thinking a bit more about, what you should be doing to have a bigger impact on the business and provide more business value.
Yeah, it kind of has some similarities to how I encourage people. Like if you're at a non-consultancy firm where you're trying to drive PowerShell, and if you're the one who learns PowerShell, implements it, and is that success story, it's a lot easier to be like, hey, I'm starting an internal user group for PowerShell. Anyone want to come along? If you've already had those wins, it's a lot easier to have people be like, oh, that's just the journey I'm going to go on. And, maybe if you're going to conferences, they'll be able to go to conferences, and you can make your business a lot better, more profitable, or whatever the case may be, more efficient, and also kind of grow as a person and as a professional along the way. So it's kind of the best of all worlds. But
I need to pick James Petty's brain, actually, because I don't know if we've got the same type of people. For us, because it's international conference, you need to cross borders. It's a longer trips. That we used to. I would say maybe we've got a slightly different type of people going to those conferences. So it's a bit more like this is international travel. You need, more signatures to get people over there. So maybe it's not like exactly the same people over there. But I don't know. Interesting.
It is interesting. Well, a long week ahead of us. Maybe we'll chat later in the week, but I have a lot more interviews with attendees and speakers. And it's only day one. Technically day one. I feel like day zero. A lot of people got it on Sunday, so we had some nerd chat on Sunday as well. But the real day of talks is here, and tomorrow there's going to be even more. And
biggest day tomorrow.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, that's right. There's a little party tomorrow night.
Yeah, and there's so many sessions as well on Tuesdays.
Yes.
Because people are still relatively fresh, so we just try to cram all the people there. Yes. And then, yes.
And lots of good talks in the hallway. I always tell people the hallway track is where it's at. You find someone with, maybe you meet them and it's an interesting conversation. They have similar problems. Take advantage of those. Yes. And hey, if you end up signing up for PSConfEU next year, let me know. That'd be cool to see. And 100% recommend coming if you are in the area, if you're able to attend.
Do it.
Especially, I think by the time this goes out, maybe It'll be the end of the week, and they'll be announced for the new date.
I would just add, like, if you're thinking about between, going to the US or going to Europe, like, take the easiest one for you.
Yes.
Just go to the easiest one. Don't overthink it. It's like, meet the community, and then at some point maybe you will have another choice where you can go to the other one.
Yeah.
Maybe at that time you say, like, let's see something different, like different perspective.
That's a good spot to be in, though, when you kind of get a choice.
Yes.
And I'd say if you're not in the place where your company's ever sent someone to a conference like this, find your local user group. I think you sponsor the London PowerShell user group occasionally.
I think we sponsored, I think, 7 user group now. My company is sponsoring quite a few in Europe.
Yeah.
And we really, so before COVID, we were very active. Like, there was a lot of user groups. And now we say, okay, I want to push people to go back to that stage. And I know it's hard.
It is.
Finding a venue, organizing things. So we want to make it easier to all the European user groups. So we're just trying to push them, and then we help them as much as we can.
And I personally love that approach to business, where it's like you can be profitable, but also you can do good in the world and help people along their journeys. And sometimes maybe it'll turn to profit, sometimes it won't, but you'll feel good and be able to sleep easy.
We're born in the community, so it's a no-brainer.
Yep, for sure. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you everybody out there for listening. We got more ahead of us.
This is the PowerShell Podcast.
Most of you know the PowerShell Podcast is sponsored and made possible by PDQ. I've had questions from listeners asking, what's PDQ and what do you do? Well, we help IT teams automate endpoint management. PDQ Connect is our cloud-based tool for real-time software deployment, patching, scripting, remote access, and vulnerability management. It's fast, flexible, and built for people who just want things to work. If you want to see it in action, head to pdq.com/podcast and check out our interactive demo. No signups, no emails, no credit card, just a fast and easy way to explore how it works. That's pdq.com/podcast. Automated endpoint management that doesn't slow you down.
Listen. And now, back to the PowerShell Podcast.
Welcome to the PowerShell Podcast.
Well, thank you, Andrew. That's a pleasure to be here.
We're on Tuesday of the conference now. I think the day is maybe like 3/4 of the way done. There's a handful more sessions, some of which I'm very excited for. AI Shell with Stephen Bucher. There's a couple others I want to see at the same time period. But I got AI Shell set up recently, and I'm kind of geeking out on it, and I probably plan on talking on the podcast a lot about it and trying to get other people to do it. Earlier today, I was in a session with Sean Laurie, who wrote PowerShell Spectre Console, which is another project early in the year. I interviewed him because I thought the project was so cool. So I talked about it on the podcast, and I got, I guess I'll talk about this more in the interview I have with him, but I got some people into it, and then I ended up contributing on some projects, and now seeing more people using it. That's what it's all about, is kind of sharing these tools with people. And that's kind of one of the benefits of a podcast, is you can introduce people to things. But that's just a little update of what's been going on Tuesday. All right, we got 2 more days to go. But Stein, you are not new to PowerShell conferences in Europe, because I think you went to the ones before it was PSConfEU, right? Like 10 plus years ago?
Yeah, that's 2, yeah. I don't remember the year. Is it 15, I guess, the first one? 15 or 16?
PSConfEU has been going for 9 years, and I think there was a couple before that as well.
Yeah, 2. The first one was in Amsterdam, and then the second one was in Stockholm. Yeah, those conferences, or those the summits. That was actually the PS Summit in Europe.
Oh, interesting.
It was hosted by John Jones and that team. So they did a fantastic job to kind of bring this on, but it turned out super difficult to plan these overseas. So
yeah.
I remember when they announced in Stockholm that they were not going to continue this one. Then we had Tobias Weltner, who took over and started that. And he brought it to Hannover in Germany. And we were there for a long time. Then COVID hit, and then the whole kind of cooled down. It was difficult to get going. And then Gael and the new team took over and brought us to Vienna, I guess, was the first one. Then we went Prague, and then we were in Antwerp last year. And now Tobias is back on the team, so that is fantastic.
Yes. I need to get an interview with him, because he's someone who I've looked up to for a while. IIC steroids is what I got started with way back in the day.
Yeah, me too.
And also, like, during COVID, it was so cool to me to think that we had someone in the PowerShell community who is a doctor actually helping people. It's just so wild to think you got a PowerShell who's also a medical doctor, not like a doctor of philosophy or computer science, but a proper doctor.
Yeah, he's
a real doctor. But so you're a speaker this year.
Yeah.
Is this your first year being a speaker?
In PowerShell Conference, yeah, absolutely. This is my first time around. I've been applying the last 3 years, but there are so many great speakers, but I was lucky to be picked this year.
And you have a very interesting topic, something that's near and dear to my heart. Those of you who have listened to the podcast a lot know I love people, I love soft skills, I love emotional intelligence and taking care of yourself. And oftentimes that's some of the most important messaging that people can get. Like if you're geeking out on PowerShell and you're here, I could definitely introduce you to some new stuff and help you along the way and highlight some great stories and things you can copy. But a lot of what I found, people in IT really struggle on the mental health side of things. Oh, sorry, your talk's about mental health, not so much soft skills.
It's a mix, I guess.
Yes, but can you give us a little bit of insight about what your talk is with, and you're also giving it with a co-speaker?
Yeah, my co-speaker is Tracy Sewell, who is a therapist, a real one.
A proper therapist.
Yeah, she's a proper therapist, an awesome woman. So this year's theme is burnout prevention.
Yeah.
And the talk is kind of divided in two. So we have last year we started building a tool set for how do you interact with people. What's important when anyone opens up to you, right? And what are the signs you need to look for in yourself and in others?
Yeah.
So this year we're going to try to expand a little bit on that one, and my topic is a tool that I use, or method I use, that is not really related to IT at all. We want to kind of give a few real-life examples as well. So I'm going to bring out some history.
Yeah.
And let's see if we can make everyone cry or something. That will be cool. No, but it's going to be a safe space. But so I'm very, as you, I'm interested in having people and creating safe teams. And psychological safety is super important. And I've experienced that myself. So I know you can go down the wrong route, but you can also find a better way to do it.
Yeah, we all struggle with a very similar core set of problems as humans, but I think there's a difference between struggling with them and suffering with them. And I think that if you have, as time goes on, you develop a tool set, you learn more about yourself, you grow, all those kinds of things, yeah, you can still struggle with things at times for sure, as everyone who I've ever talked to does, without a doubt. And I've talked to all the people that I've pretty much wanted to talk to historically, all my heroes, all dealing with the same things.
Yeah.
But I think over time it's very important that you get to a point where you're not suffering.
Yeah, that's the whole point. And yeah, I'm going to do that. I'll have some better examples maybe in the talk, but it is about being able to contain or regulate your own feeling and soothe, self-soothe. These are kind of the important traits for my talk, at least, because if you're capable of doing that, you are more present, you are more resilient to anything, right?
Yeah.
So part of these tools are actually, it's not an AI tool, it's an I tool or a me tool, right?
Yeah.
So it is to build up resilience in everyone. Because if you're safe, you have a better platform to make a safe environment around you.
Yep.
Yeah. So just like you brought me on here and you made me feel safe before going on a podcast. That's pretty cool.
And what I like about that is, some people, they think it's too soft skills, it's not for them. Well, the thing is that it actually empowers you to do more, right? Yeah. You can have bigger impact at your work if you can create a situation where everyone feels comfortable to collaborate. And if they have a perspective, they're okay asking a question and that kind of thing. Like, it just leads to, ultimately, businesses care about money. It leads to that if you can create that safety, that good culture, and find that in others. And it's just, just such a human thing that's going to be around, as long as we're humans. We're going to be learning wherever, humans are in their growth cycle, which, we're at a certain place now. Maybe in 5 years we'll be in a better place. Yeah. Thanks to people like you putting on talks and sharing their perspective and trying to push things forward.
Yeah, I think it's super important that our heroes actually open up and share about this, not only the fantastic functions or the way to do work.
Yeah.
So what happened here in PSConf Europe was the first one in person after COVID. We had our first mental health session. That came as a shocker for everyone, right?
Yeah.
All cameras were off. It was a safe space, and some community leaders actually shared their impression or their experiences during COVID. And COVID is a brutal period of time.
It was a tough time for sure. Many people were suffering. Yeah.
But that session, you had to be there because it was an awesome and very emotional session for everyone involved. And people just stood up and told their story, and it was heartbreaking, right?
Yeah.
That did a lot. That opened the door in a very effective way for this community. And so last year, the organizers actually got Tracy on board, which is a therapist, and made this toolbox. Super simple tools we can use, and the talk is on GitHub, so everyone can see it. It
nice.
And that, by the way, that was her first public speaking event as well, so that was pretty cool. And this year we want to build on that to kind of expand it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, and if you follow the hallway track, mental health is, the topic is growing. People are opening up and talking about it. The problem we have typically as men, we don't have the language. We don't know what this feeling is. Mm-hmm. I'm just angry, or I'm just stressed. I'm not even angry, I'm just stressed. Yeah. Or someone at work was this and that, right? But our women, they do have the language. They know the language. They are very much in control of their, they have a language. They have words, we only have a body language.
Yeah.
We don't have that's what I'm going to say. We don't have the words, right? So I'm just stressed, but I'm super frightened, or I'm almost overwhelmed. I don't know what that is, but my body actually knows. So my body language is my only language, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to try and bring that out in a more clear way on stage on Thursday. It's going to be cool.
I think there's a lot of interesting things that kind of tie into what you just said, which is, listening to ourselves. If your body is stressed and you're just ignoring it and going, well, you're going to probably do things that aren't going to be in your best interest, right? You're not going to be at your best. You can't do your best work if you're not in a good headspace. But also the body language, like something that was really impactful for me was reading the body language of others. If someone looks very uncomfortable, you probably shouldn't keep explaining whatever technical topic that you're just going at.
No.
And those are things that, you don't need to be born with these skills. You can develop them over time. It's kind of like PowerShell. You can't learn the whole language overnight and every commandlet and everything. You got to take one step at a time, learn about yourself, see that in others when you can, learn about other people's perspectives, because we're not all the exact same internally.
No.
Some people, something will stress them out way more than someone else, and that's okay. I try not to judge myself or compare myself in that way, because I don't know what my tolerances are relative to others, but it's important that I know where I am so I can take care of myself and be there for others and be there for myself. I see a lot of people who are very kind outwardly, but they don't grant themselves the same grace.
No, that is a super good point. Yeah, so you mentioned tolerance, and I'm going to talk about the window of tolerance as a model to identify where I'm at in the current moment. And that is it's not from IT at all, it's come from trauma therapy. Mm-hmm. That is a model from a professor back then. And it is a map that can apply to everyone because it's generic, but the contents of your window of tolerance is yours.
Yeah.
It's based on your experiences from childhood until present. So we don't have the same window, but we have a window, if you look at the model at least.
Yes.
And there are different ways to get out of that window and get back in, right? So hopefully it makes sense on the slides.
Well, I'll be looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
I always love this topic because, you know, some people, they listen to the podcast and these are some of their favorite episodes and topics that we talk about. And there's other people who are more interested in the technical, you know, getting into the deep of PowerShell and that side of things. But I try and find kind of a healthy mix because, again, the limiting factor is often us. It's not our technical skills. It's our ability to interact with the world and the people around us and, you know, the people at work who are responsible for giving you access to whatever and getting cultural buy-in and all that kind of thing. But, well, I appreciate you joining me. We'll definitely have to have another chat here in the future. And thank you everybody out there for listening. PowerShell Conference Europe 2025, Malmö, Sweden. We're here, baby.
Thanks for listening to the PowerShell Podcast. The PowerShell Podcast is a PDQ production, making device management simple, secure, and pretty damn quick.